Hi, my name is Tom Cox, and this is my presentation on making mead. Then I decided to go with this because I'd done some brewing before, and I like mead. I've never made it, love to drink it. I even have a mead horn, so I wanted to see how it was made, see if it was something I could do, and actually it turns out it's really easy to do, and looks like a lot of fun, and I will probably be doing this after I move to California because I don't want to wait the time up here, and I don't think they'll let me through Canada with mead in the back. Anyway, so mead, the drink of the gods. So I went with a really basic um, recipe to start with. Just it's a dry mead. It's just very traditional, very classic, simple, and they get a lot more complex. But this is the one I went with for this specific manual because that's what my goal was here was to make a small manual that you'd pick up at like a specialty shop where you would be buying mead or be buying the supplies you need to do your home brewing. The ingredients are honey, 15 pounds of honey that you'd probably have to get from farmer's market or a lot of the little bears. Water, the 8.10 or 0.18 ounce Lavlin formald K. That's nutrients for the yeast, which is the thing underneath it. The equipment, your 5 gallon bucket with airtight lid. You can buy these at any like home improvement store, but the best ones to be using are the ones you're going to get from the places like the store you'd be picking up this manual. Next is a carboy. That's this thing right here. Long spoon to stir with, an airlock, thermometer, unscented cleaner because scented cleaner will actually flavor and make your mead smell differently, and it's horrible. I had a friend who made this stuff, and his turned out bad. Sanitizer and siphon. Uh, Making the divine drink. First, you need to clean everything, and this is going to go through all the steps. First, you need to clean and sanitize everything, and then put it somewhere that has also been cleaned and sanitized. You don't want to wash your spoon and set it on the counter, because if the counter hasn't been cleaned, then the counter is also dirty. So you're going to go through all of your equipment, clean, sanitize. If you think you're being too picky, well, you're not. Then you need to place the honey in a sink full of hot water in the containers that it's in. This is to loosen up the honey so it's runnier because you're going to end up mixing this into your water, which is the next step. You need to take 2 to 3 gallons of warm water. You don't want it cold because it'll just make the honey congeal and make it harder to mix up. And add that honey to mix until the honey is dissolved in the water. And you gotta stir it up. Number 4 is you need to add the remaining water up to the volume of 5 gallons. That's when it'll that's what you're going to be working with. So whatever water you have left over from your 5 gallons earlier, just it's not needed. Then you need to let it cool down to 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. This is important because if you don't, you'll end up killing your yeast, and you won't get mead. You'll just have honey water with yeast floating in it, and no. Number 6, you need to pitch the yeast. That's where you'll either rehydrate it depending on the yeast. You need to follow the instructions on the back of that. Put it into the mixture, and you'd also be putting in your nutrients to keep the yeast going at this point. And then you secure the lid and attach the airlock. That's this thing right here. And what it has is chambers of water, and it works a lot like your toilet. And what it does is it lets CO2, this is a byproduct of the fermentation, come up through here and out, but it doesn't let air back in. So, because oxygen will ruin your beer. Then you need to aerate it after you have everything set up. And that's just a simple twisting motion of the bucket, but you got to be careful because you don't want to splash the contents. If you splash the contents around, you're going to end up putting way too much oxygen in there with the yeast, and it will flavor and contaminate your beer. Then you need to place it into a cool 60 to 70 degree Fahrenheit place that it can sit for a while. Now you got to wait 2 to 3 weeks. Sucks. You got to check the airlock occasionally, make sure that it did start bubbling at first and that it continued bubbling. And you also need to make sure that the water is still in there because you want that thing to be an airlock. Um, After you've waited 2 to 3 weeks, a long wait, I know, it is time to transfer. So you're going to end up siphoning that must, which is what it's called before it becomes mead, into your carboy. That's right here. This is like the perfect picture for it. And then you're going to put the airlock back on. This is your secondary fermentation. This is where everything is going to be coming together. And this is going to be honestly the longest part. Now begins your long wait. And it is a long wait. It is 2 to 3 months. Depending on how alcoholic you want it, the more alcoholic, the clearer you want it, the shorter time, but it is going to take a minimum of 2 months to 3 months. So during that time, and you will see it becoming clearer because you can see right now it's really um, opaque. It'll become a lot more translucent and it'll actually look like a wine, like a light wine at the end, because that's what mead is honey wine. Um, and then step three is after that time, you would either A, package it into like a bottle or something, or in my case, if I were to do this, I would be having friends over and we would be drinking mead and partying and like Vikings of old. It'd be fantastic. But anyway, this was my instructional manual in a nutshell, and I actually enjoyed this assignment a lot. So for me, this was fun. I got to learn about something that I hadn't known before, but it was something close to other things that I'd like doing. So this is something I'm actually going to try out probably later this fall. But yeah, so in a nutshell, this is everything you need to know about making mead. It is really simple. There's not much to it. Simple steps, but there's enough of them, and you've got to be careful enough when you're doing certain things that it can be screwed up if you don't follow along. So there it is. That's my presentation. Thank you.